when the regime eventually falls. When I become president, because I know someday I will, the first thing I will do in the first 100 days is to make sure I don't stay president. Mark that word. Mark that word. Mark that word. Njagala. Now the president is talking to international media platforms. Grammys. Zezisinga munsi yonna when it comes to the music industry. Bamujeko interview bino byayogedde. Kati aba ayogera kugamba nansi yonna. Akugambye nti when I become president, because I know someday I will, the first thing I will do in the first 100 days is to make sure I don't stay president. I want you to quote that. And of course, deep down in this interview, of course, he expounded more on this. And of course, you will get to know what this really means to the person of His Excellency Kyagulani Sentamu Robert. That when I become president, because I know someday I will, the first thing I'll do in the first 100 days is to make sure I don't stay president. Let's continue the interview. When you began to use music to address the political situation in Uganda, who did you take influence from? Who, as in artists, musicians, political thinkers, who did you want to channel to send your message out to the people in Uganda? Kyagulani adamu, it was not only musicians, it was also people in sports like Muhammad Ali, activists, but most importantly, musicians like Bob Marley and even Tupac. They had an influence on the people. They had the ears of the people. While the politicians struggled to speak to the people and get people to act, the musicians would actually get people to act. Okafunyako bino bibuuzo biri international mujjukire biri international si bino bagenda okubuuza simanyi ku buno bu TV buno simanyi bu NBS nedda sebo. This is Grammys.com. Bamubuuziza anyway ekibuuzo ekirala, African music has become especially popular in America recently because of the Afrobeats movement and the figures like Burna Boy and Wizkid. How do you feel that your music fits into that larger movement, especially coming from East Africa, which is a totally different side of the continent? President Nadamu Nabagamba nti, I am very, very glad that African music is finally getting the attention of America and the West. The most important population, the one that makes decisions that can save and destroy us. So I only wish the African artists of today use the opportunity and the attention they have to speak out for the people of Africa, so that we do not only become known as entertainers. Interview anabuuza ekibuuzo kirala. Can you talk about the ways that you have used music as a tool for political action? You've used it to attack corruption in Uganda and gain supporters, but you've also used it to spread awareness of COVID-19, as you did in the documentary. How does that fit in with your evolution from an entertainer to a politician? Kino yakizemu nnyo n'ebigambo biyitirivu nnyo. Yagambye, before I was singing about cars and money. For a long time, I was a young man like any other, but something happened to me. I got into a situation where I was bullied and harassed and humiliated just because I had a nice car. And this was being done to me by a security officer. So when this happened to me, I remembered how I had watched it happen to other people while I was not speaking out. Since then, I decided to change my music from entertainment to edutainment. I started speaking for the ghetto people. I realized that my music is not only for entertainment. In any case, I was very successful. I had made a lot of money and changed my own life. But I thought there should be a bigger meaning to my music. There should be a bigger cause to my music. There should be bigger benefits, not only financial benefits to me, but also transformational benefits to the ghetto back home where I come from. I wanted to inspire others and show them that this microphone that we have, This platform that we have is a very powerful platform that can change the world if politicians have not represented the common people. The artist doesn't have to get a degree to speak for people. They don't have to be members of parliament to speak for people. You will find one artist can have a bigger following than a president or a minister. So I thought we could use that platform to speak for our people. To speak about corruption, to speak about behavior change and transformation, but most importantly about freedom, especially in Uganda, where the president has been in power for almost 40 years. And he does that through arresting political opponents, killing activists, and jailing opponents. Nothing could speak for them more than the music. Let me hope you guys are following. Then, interview nadamu nambuuza ekibuuzo ekirala. I do want to ask you a little bit about the sound that you have pursued, because it contains elements of Afrobeats and hip hop, as well as dancehall, reggae, and calypso. Where do you take the deepest influence from? President Adamu Namugamba, I would say Afrobeat, because Afrobeat just means a beat from Africa. But even Afrobeat differs between West Africa, East Africa to North Africa, which has more of an Arab influence. So my music is more of a fused Afropop, but I also get a heavy influence from Jamaican music, from reggae and dancehall, especially the dancehall of the 90s, which is when I started singing. So it's a fusion. It's where Africa meets the Caribbean. Wow. Okay. Uganda is a very big country. It's a place of many different groups, ethnicities, and languages. How do you think music plays a part in crossing those divides and uniting people, especially for a political cause like you've pursued? Then the president responds, music is very powerful, especially in our generation. Bobi is 42 years old. Where it is hard to limit it, the media takes music across borders. There has always been music like mine that speaks for the people. Music like the great Fela Kuti from Nigeria, Phil Lutaya from Uganda, and many others. But now that we have new technology such as social media, musicians have played a great role. During the End SARS protest in Nigeria, to end police brutality, when the artists came out, the government listened to the people, and the sanity was restored. So music continues to play a big role in Uganda alone. Now, the artists are the new advocates of society, and it's good that they are usually grounded and people are more represented through the music. But I must also say that many artists, after discovering the power of music and how much it can influence society, have unfortunately decided to exchange it for money. Since the dictators recognized how powerful music is, now a huge amount of Ugandan taxpayer money is going to a group of artists whose job is to sing against the freedom of the people of Uganda, to campaign against any kind of change, and make sure that they paint a rosy picture for the regime. So can you kumazi? Interview na damu na mboze chibuze chilala. There was a lot of very difficult moments captured throughout the film. What was it like to have cameras following you when you were in dramatic or difficult situations with your family, for instance? President Nabagamba nti, well, of course, we did not give complete access to the camera. Well, of course, we did not give complete access to the cameras. But with time, they completely forgot the cameras existed. These people, the cameramen that followed us across the world, they became friends. And later, they became comrades in the struggle. When we were beaten by the police, they were not scared. They were beaten. They were jailed. They were tortured. One of them, Moses Ibayo, was shot in the face. And right now, he cannot live in Uganda. He's seeking political asylum in America. So it was equally hard for them. They realized that they are not only filming a politician or a person pursuing a certain goal, they are filming the revolution happening right in front of their faces. Sometimes we kept teasing ourselves, saying that the revolution will be televised because there was always a camera around. But we completely forgot about the cameras. Everybody was just in the moment. A lot has happened. A lot has happened since the end of the documentary, which ends as the 2021 election is wrapping up. Can you summarize what happened after? President Nabadamu Nabagamba, after the election, the cameras went away, but the action continued. It became even more vicious. At the time, the camera was our only security. We probably all would have been killed. But whenever the police and the army saw a camera, they tended to restrain themselves, especially because most of the footage ended up on social media. After the election, the cameras went down. The international attention shifted somewhere else, somewhere more important and active. But the aggression back in Uganda continued. Abductions continued. Many of my friends are missing. 3 of them were abducted only 3 days ago. There are those that went abducted 3-4 weeks ago and they are still missing. Hundreds of families are reporting their loved ones abducted for having supported me in the election. The crackdown continues because the regime has never seen such an immense uprising of young people. They are trying to avoid it. They are trying to nip it in the bud. So the murders continue. Just to update you, one of our comrades, that is Rochoto Ambrose, the chairperson of Kunga in the Kabongo district, was murdered last night in cold blood. He was shot dead. It was such a tragic incident, but our comrade is no more. This happened last night. Is a people power or an NUP leader that is in Kabongo district was shot by men. Of course, those who witnessed what happened, this guy was coming from watching a football match, and from there he was pursued and of course shot dead. Yeah, of course I'll update you about that later on. All right, let's continue. The crackdown continues because the regime has never seen such an immense uprising of young people. They are trying to avoid it. They are trying to nip it in the bud. So the murders continue. I'm glad that now, through this film, we've had the attention of the world. That helps us. For example, I was always getting put under illegal house arrest. Whenever I go back home, often I'm pulled off the plane, put under military detention or house arrest. In fact, on the day this film was announced as an Oscar nominee, I was under house arrest. Me and my wife and my children had just escaped out of my house, and we were hiding from the military when the announcement came out. The government saw it. The government saw in the international media that the film might be nominated. 3 hours later, the military withdrew from my house and they let me free. So, this film for us is a lifeline. Of course, of course, this is during that time we were coronavirus. All right, ekibuzo ekirala kigamba, do you have any plans to attend the Oscars? Have you been invited? Yes, I am deeply preparing my nice African suit. I'll be there with my wife. I hope this government of Uganda does not block me from attending. Now you have a hint of how the president is going to be dressed at the Oscars. Yes, at least now you know he's going to be, putting on that African suit. Utogera African suit, tubera togera kuzi African print. There is African print, of course. Nga olaba nti mu South Africa oba mu Southern Africa bayina hanayate wenadde okunyonyola ebyo kansooke mbiveeko tugende maaso ne interview. You are in Los Angeles now. You could feasibly stay there until the Oscars. Yeah, but I don't want to live in fear. It's my right to enter and leave Uganda anytime I want. Do you think, in hindsight, there was any chance of winning the election in 2021? Bambuza, do you think, in hindsight, there was any chance of winning the election in 2021? Or do you think that the crackdown from Museveni would have come on no matter what? President Abadamu Nabagamba, we won the election, even though he took down the entire internet. Do I think there was a chance for General Museveni to respect the voice of the people and hand over power peacefully? There would have been a chance only if the international community stood with the people of Uganda. Only if the United Nations stood with the people of Uganda. If all the world democracies say, we are not going to respect a country that disrespects democracy. But unfortunately, that has not been the case for a long time. And I hope this film also touches the morality of Western leaders and tells them to stand by the values that they profess. That would earn us democracy. And the democracy should be supported everywhere, not only in Africa. You don't take democracy for granted because you can very easily lose it. Interview anamubuuza ekibuuzo. Obviously, the main goal of the 2021 campaign was to remove Museveni from office. But did you think at all about what you would do as president? What policies would you have pursued? And what would you try to do for the people of Uganda? I want you to listen carefully, attentively. Of course, this is the JB Muwonge talk show. And my name is JB Muwonge. Of course, I always thank you and salute you for tuning in wherever you're tuning in from. I don't take your time you devote to this show for granted. I thank you very much. Keep pushing this message further, keep sharing, keep tapping on that share button, and keep giving this video a thumbs up. Yes, so we'll look at spreading across. All right. Bambu was a bichi wandikolede Uganda. Obulama gwali gwa kujjako Museveni. Omulama gwali gwa kujjako Museveni singa uli president wandikolede ki Uganda. All right, let's dive into it. Nakugamba ntino. Definitely, yes, the main agenda was to remove General Museveni because it is the only roadblock to the new Uganda, the free Uganda. When I become president, because I know someday I will, the first thing I will do in the first 100 days is to make sure I don't stay president. Did you hear that? Agambi nti. When I become president, because I know someday I will, the first thing I'll do in the first 100 days is to make sure I don't stay president. This guy, ajja kuba muntu wanjawulo from jwalabange ebibuuzo bino olumu taagala bidda mu media za Uganda mbu ogenda kufuga ebisanja bisatu bina ogenda kufuga ebisanja bimeka tatera kuddamu answers zino kati Grammys.com bwe mubuuza bwati babazeemu. When I become president, because I know someday I will, the first thing I'll do in the first 100 days is to make sure I don't stay president. Nayongera nagamba, we want to reduce the power of the president to damage the country. And we will put that power in the institutions, re-empower the parliament and the judiciary so that they are not in the pockets of one person. Nayongera nagamba, and of course, we will try to attack corruption because corruption is the biggest problem. And divert our resources to schools and health care. In Uganda, we lose 200 children and 20 women giving birth every day, according to statistics from the Minister of Health. 300 children are projected to die every day under the age of 5 in Uganda. The health care is so terrible that the ministers and the political elite get their medical attention in America, in Europe. No politicians in Uganda or political elites get their medical attention from Uganda because the hospitals are messed up. So we want to fix the hospitals and also fix the schools and fix the roads. We want to make sure we have the rule of law and respect human rights. Make it not a crime to disagree with that. And the rest will come. Nagari namugamba nti, we have a manifesto that explains this entire program, talking about what I think a new Uganda would look like. But in brief, I can tell you it would be the coolest country in the world, with the coolest president who respects young people, who represents innovation, who represents his country, not as a failed state, but as a model for Africa. We would love to be a country that relates very well with the international community. Imagine a president of a country coming to Hollywood to give a performance. That is what Africa will be known for. Not for child labor, not for poor maternal health, not for corruption, not for wars. No. We want to have a Uganda as a model for the continent. Ugandans are very smart, but many of us have had to run away from Uganda out of fear for their lives or their employees. I want to bring back all those people and have them build our country. We will have better trust in the world. We have big resources. We have gold. We have oil. We have the youngest population in the world. Man, you would see a transformed country. You would see Wakanda. For me, my main goal is to build a Wakanda in Uganda. Man, I loved that last part. Huh? That was, of course, the interview. Very, very nice. Very, very nungi nyo akapati akasembye yako kankabadire namu kuba that is the akugambye badde ombuuzo, of course, kiki ogenda okukolera Uganda. Hey, you guys, if you want the manifesto of the national platform, perhaps you just join this struggle. Perhaps you love to explore more what the NUP has for Uganda. Of course, you can go to our website. That is www.jbmuwonge.com. On the first page or the home page of that website, you are going to find an option to download the NUP manifesto. The moment you click in it, boom, it will instantly download. Of course, if you have an automatic downloader installed in your app on your device. But if, of course, you don't have one, of course, it will automatically open for you to read and also give you an option to download. Again, we have a manifesto that explains this entire program, talking about what I think a new Uganda would look like. But in brief, I can tell you it will be the coolest country in the world, with the coolest president who respects young people, who respects innovation, who presents his country not as a failed state, but a model for Africa. Kanso kemara okunywa kulendero ya mazzi katono. Yeah. A model for Africa. We would love to be a country that relates very well with the international community. Imagine a president of a country. Just imagine a president of a country coming to Hollywood to give a performance. That is what Africa will be known for. Not for child labor, not for poor maternal health, not for corruption, not for wars. No, we want to have Uganda as a model for the continent. Ugandans are very smart, but many of us have had to run away from Uganda out of fear for their lives or their employees. I want to bring back all those people and have them build our country. We will have better trust in the world. We have big resources. We have gold. We have oil. We have the youngest population in the world. Man, you would see a transformed country. You would see Wakanda. For me, my main goal is to build Wakanda in Uganda. Of course, that was the interview our president Kyagulani Sentamu Robert had with Grammys. That is the interview. But it seems a chintu chila chona